Hello, Nostalgia Con. What's going on? All right, I'm from Houston. Y'all can do better than that. How y'all doing out there? Do y'all know who our next guest is? Is that why y'all are here? Okay, awesome. So our guest is someone who has become part of television history by starring in one of the most beloved, funniest, and most groundbreaking family comedies of all time. As a star of Malcolm in the Middle, he helped create a character and a show that still connects with audiences across generations because it was smart, chaotic, heartfelt, and completely unlike anything else on TV. Now he's stepping back into one of the roles that have cherished the most as Malcolm returns in Malcolm in the Middle, Life's Still Unfair. Please welcome Frankie Muniz. Do a mic check?
Hello, hello.
There
hey,
we go.
What's up, everyone?
There we go.
Good to see y'all. Am I sitting here?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Well, this is super exciting. First off, this is my first time being at NostalgiaCon, doing a panel here, and I get to do it with Frankie Muniz. That's amazing. Let's hear it one more time for Frankie Muniz.
Thank you, guys.
So great timing that you're here because Malcolm's back.
It is.
Y'all heard the news, right? Malcolm is back.
It's really weird, actually. It was super surreal getting to film the show, obviously, getting back together with all the cast and crew and same writers and directors. And, you know, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, it feels like no time had passed. But honestly, like, we went on that set, and it was as if it was the next week from when we stopped filming 20 years ago. And just had an absolute blast. And I hope everyone loves the show and enjoys it. But we had a blast making it, for sure.
Is it still like a pinch me moment? Like, is it still surreal? Like, the show just came out, I think dropped yesterday.
It dropped yesterday, yeah. To be honest, this last month has really been wild. You know, I was in New York City this whole week doing press, kind of prepping for the show, doing all the big talk shows and stuff. And I was walking in Times Square with my 5-year-old son, and there's like a 200-foot billboard of my face. You know what I mean? And it's been a while, right? You know, I experienced all this stuff 20 years ago, and it's just weird to get to experience it now, like having been removed from it for a while, because you have such a greater appreciation for what it is. And, you know, I've gotten to meet so many people who love the show, like truly love the show, and tell me how it, you know, brought their families closer together or affected them in a positive way. So I have a greater appreciation of being a part of something like that. And it's cool to get to take it in, you know, get another opportunity to take it in like that.
Yeah, it's been great to revisit the show. I told you that I rewatch the show every year. It's a good comfort show, and then getting to watch the whole 4 episodes was amazing. You know, what emotions hit you the hardest when you walked onto that set for Life's Still Not Unfair?
To be honest, just actual happiness. You know what I mean? It was emotional, but like it was in a positive way, right? Because, like I said, when you've stepped away, it gives, in anything in life, you know, even if you're working, whatever job you have, or you think of school, you think of things, and when you're in it, you just kind of do it, right? You show up every day, you do your job. Even if you love it, it becomes kind of routine. But when it goes away and you have an opportunity to go back to it, you go, wow, this is special. And that's how we felt every day. And we had so much fun getting to play the characters that we know so well. And I remember actually on the last day of filming, I've been, you know, my whole life I've done a lot of things, right? But acting was always one of the things I said, like, oh yeah, I act as well as other things, but I'm not necessarily an actor, right? But I was so happy on the last day of filming to actually have the label actor next to my name, just because I had so much fun, and I really, you know, if you watch the 4 episodes, there's every emotion in the whole world, and I really enjoyed doing it and playing the character, and I loved it, so it was cool.
How many of y'all have watched all 4 episodes already?
A few. It just came out yesterday.
After this, you gotta go and watch it. Obviously, watched all 4. I love them all, but episode 3 to me is golden for many reasons. But every episode is amazing. To me, it's a blessing to even have 4 more episodes of Malcolm. That show broke so many rules of television comedy. Looking back, when did you realize the show was truly something different?
When you're in the midst of it, right? You're just so excited the show gets picked up. You hope people are going to watch it, and it all happens really, really quick. Like, the show, I think, premiered in January. So some people call it a mid-season replacement, but it was actually always planned on going just because it aired Sunday, so after football was done. And the first episode, I think 23 million people tuned in. And then the second episode, 26 million people tuned in. So it was pretty quick that we knew that people liked it. But even then, like, it's like a whirlwind, and you're just kind of, you don't even get to like absorb it because it all just happens so fast. Like, I always tell this story. I was just thinking about it when I was in New York this week. I started acting in North Carolina, but moved up to New York where my family was from, and I'd go on auditions every day. And at the end of the day, we'd go to where they filmed TRL. I don't know, most people might not know that, right? It was like an MTV show that aired every afternoon, and they always had celebrities. And they did it right in Times Square, and every day, like, the celebrity would come to the glass window and wave to the fans down in Times Square. So my mom and I, like, we were always in the crowd, like, waving up to the celebrity. And it was like 2 months later that I was in the glass waving down. Like, it happened really quick. You know what I mean? It was pretty, it's just a weird thing to experience for sure.
Well, that all happened because not everyone just liked Malcolm. They loved the show, right? That took off like crazy when it came out. Fans often say the show felt honest about growing up. Did you realize at the time how meaningful Malcolm's journey would become for viewers?
I don't know if I knew it then, but like I said, I know it now. I remember when the show first started airing, everyone called it like a dysfunctional family. They're like, oh, the family's so crazy and dysfunctional. But realistically, what I hear the most is how relatable the family was. And people go, oh man, Malcolm and my mom's like that, or my brothers and I get along like that. And at the heart of the show was that the family really, really cared for each other, right? Sure, they bickered and they fought, but they stuck up for each other. They loved each other. And I think people just liked having a show like that. And back then, in 1999, when we first started filming the show, there wasn't many comedies being made then at that time, and everything was multi-camera. So it would be like every 8 seconds there had to be a joke, and there was a laugh track. And so we were a single camera comedy, which was unique, and it allowed us to like go on locations, and it allowed us to have dramatic moments mixed in, which is what life is, right? There's ups and downs, and when you can play all that, it made it more relatable, I think, for most of the audience.
Do you feel, though, that Malcolm was really ahead of its time, too, because it helped portray gifted kids dealing with pressure and expectations, too, at the same time?
Yeah, you know, I think people who never saw the show because there was kids in the show thought it was a kid's show, right? But it's definitely not. You know, like, I'm always surprised when I see, like, you know, families with little kids who are like, oh, my kids love the show. I'm like, I don't know if I'd let my kid watch the show. You know, very adult themed, but yeah, we were kids. But no, we definitely there wasn't really shows that were primetime comedies that did center around the children. You know what I mean? Like me, or you know, the brothers and all that. But I think families can relate with it. You know, obviously everyone was a kid at one point, so they can think back of times that they were in school and they were going through this similar stuff. And yeah, I don't know.
That's true. I think we're too young to watch that show, maybe. But I think as kids, we watch a lot of stuff we shouldn't have.
Well, there was a lot, like if you watch it as a kid, you probably thought the comedy was different than if you watch it as an adult. Because there's a lot of things like, now when I rewatch the show, I go like, I totally didn't understand that concept until now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
When it comes to the new the 4-part series, you know, what do you think longtime fans will appreciate most about how the story evolves?
Well, it's hard to obviously come back and recreate something that we did 20 years ago. And we tried to do the best job of it it's the same creator, the same writers, the same producers. Ken Kwapis, who directed probably 30 of the original episode, directed all these. You know, so it was really the crew and all the cast, and we wanted it to feel as authentic to what the show used to be. We weren't trying to reinvent it, right? We're just trying to give a little bit more of what people are used to seeing, and because that's what they liked. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. You know, it's my only complaint, and you know, maybe I'm biased, is it's only 4 episodes. I feel like it's too short. You know what I mean? Because just when you get sucked back into knowing what everyone's up to, and even we introduce a lot of new characters, it's over. But no, I don't know.
Well, it's 4 more than we ever thought we'd ever get.
That's true.
So we're very excited to get those. And yeah, you mentioned Ken, and I did speak to Ken a week or two ago. Can you talk about like the collaborative process of bringing the show back, but also bringing Malcolm's voice back?
Malcolm's voice, like me talking.
Yeah. No, just how you evolved and his how we see him today.
I remember. I'll say this: 10 or 12 years ago, I put a tweet out. I watched some of the show, and I said something like, I really wonder what Malcolm is up to, right? Because in the last episode, the family basically tells them that they expect him to be the president of the United States. And that's a pretty high expectation to put on a kid. And I was like, I wonder, where is he? Like, is he successful? Is he living back home? Did he have failures? Whatever it may be. So I remember getting the script and being so excited just to actually have it answered. And when you meet Malcolm, if you remember the show, Malcolm was always really frustrated, right? He thought his family was holding him back. He thought his brothers were annoying, like the school, like everything was just like, he felt like the world was out to get him. And when you meet him again at the beginning of these 4 episodes, he's in a really good place. He's happy. He's got his stuff together, and he's got a great job, a great organization that he runs. He has an amazing daughter. He has a girlfriend that truly loves him for him. He doesn't even understand how he got her. Like, everything is really, really good. The fun of how he got there is that he has stayed completely away from his family, that they were the problem. And then you can imagine what ensues after that.
The show really gets into it quickly. It sets it up nice, and then all of a sudden the chaos comes, and that's the beauty of Malcolm in the Middle. Reuniting with Brian and Jane, I mean, everyone's important in the show, but I feel like their relationship as Hal and Lois is also the heartbeat of the 4 episodes. What did it mean to you to have them just jump right back in and kind of everyone just was on board with them?
Yeah, I mean, Brian, obviously, we've known what he's done post-Malcolm, right? Breaking Bad, incredible movies. He's won every award in the book. Like, he's truly an incredible, incredible actor. I had dinner with him right after I put that tweet out 10 years ago or whatever it was, and he was really excited about it because he's like, there's not a role that I want to have another opportunity to play again more than Hal. And I thought that was the craziest thing to hear from him, like, who's, like I said, he's gone on to do so many incredible things, and he really took the lead to kind of push Linwood, the creator, to make this happen. But no, getting to work with Jane and Brian again was amazing. Like, I was a kid back then. They really were like they were like parents to me. They took care of me. They checked in on me, and I kind of grew up with them. I was with them every day for 7 years. So to get to have the opportunity to reconnect, to get to work with them again as an adult, was really, really special. And I don't know. I was really proud of what we did, for sure.
I'm glad there's returning characters and faces, and there's new faces. What are you most excited for fans to kind of revisit and be introduced to a new aspect of this family and other characters that show up?
Yeah, I think I think there's been a lot of shows that have been remade, right? This is something that we talked about for 10 years. We weren't ever trying to come back and like make 7 more seasons. As it was written, it's just these 4 episodes. You know what I mean? Granted, you can never say never, but that was the intention. But we wanted to. Linwood, the creator, what took so long is he wanted to have a story that he wanted to tell. And if you don't know this, the show is based on his life. He was Malcolm. He had the crazy relationship with his parents and his family, and he is like a genius. And he's like, I don't want to just make something to make it. Like, I want a story to tell. So the story he had was introducing some of these new characters that are actual family members of his, without getting too into depth of his personal life. But like he had stories he wanted to tell there, and Leah, who's Malcolm's daughter, Kelly. There's another sibling of the Malcolm family. I don't know if you guys watched the last episode 20 years ago. One of the last shots is Hal and Lois holding up a pregnancy test, being surprised that they're pregnant again. So Kelly is a new Malcolm sibling. So there's another character there, and it's fun to introduce new people into it, and you get to know them just enough that you actually want more, I think. And I think that was some of the intention. I will say this, I don't know if I'll get in trouble, but like they have talked about doing a spin-off following Malcolm's daughter. I don't know if that will happen, but I would love it. But yeah, I hope people, if people like the show enough and like her, maybe that'll be the possibility.
It's a perfect show. That's how I put it out there. I thought it's a perfect 4 episodes, and yeah, it leads up to so much. And I know many of y'all maybe haven't seen it yet, but I highly suggest go home because there's a lot of spoilers out there already. There's a couple here already, but it is fantastic. But I say episode 3 is golden like others, but also the show ends on such a bang, we'll say, right?
Yeah, literally.
Literally. Is there a part of Malcolm that will always feel like part of your identity?
You know, I played Malcolm for such a long time during, I think, very transformative years of my life, right? Basically 12 to 19 years old. And I watched all the episodes maybe 5 or 6 years ago with my wife, and she had never seen it. And at the end of episode 151, she turned to me and she goes, "You weren't acting at all." That's you. And I didn't know how to take that because Malcolm's a little crazy. You know, he's a little neurotic. But no, I've definitely, I feel like I have some Malcolm mannerisms, 100%. But then again, it is me being Malcolm. So, but no. Yeah.
Would you be up for taking some fan questions from the audience?
For sure, for
Is
sure.
that cool?
Hello, tell us your name and your question.
My name is Jebediah, and sorry if I get a little nervous. I have autism, but I grew up with you on Agent Cody Baines, both of them. My mom bought me the DVDs.
Nice.
I wanted to be Agent Cody Baines when I was a kid. For Halloween, I dressed up as you.
Oh,
when I was
awesome.
about 8 years old, and my big question was, I hope it's okay if I ask you a Cody Baines question.
Yeah, for sure.
In the one where you get the where you have the car and you go into and you borrow that really fancy sports car. You have that convertible. And,
The old Ferrari, yeah.
How was it? How was it to? How many times did it take you to get that right? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, what's funny is, I'm now a professional race car driver, right? I race NASCAR full time.
Yeah.
But I'm only saying that because when I filmed Cody Banks, which I was 15, 16 when we filmed that, I couldn't drive a stick. Like, I didn't know how. So they had to teach me, and then I'm driving this old super expensive Ferrari that's way harder to drive than even a current stick. So I struggled a bit, but I looked pretty good doing that little U-turn, little donut,
Hell yeah, you did. And
But it wasn't me. That's why.
thank you, and thank you for keeping my childhood alive. But like I said, with you and all my classic cartoons and shows I watch, with my dad. With my dad having Parkinson, that you keep my childhood alive. And
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Hey there. Hey, Sean. We've
How you doing?
We've met multiple times in San Antonio. Great to see you again.
Right, good to
And
see you.
nice to finally meet you, Frankie.
You too.
Yeah, I've been loved Malcolm in the Middle, seeing it all. You're actually one of my childhood heroes.
Thank you.
But you know what I also am a big fan of? How many Breaking Bad fans are in here?
Probably a lot.
Okay. Wow, I didn't get as big of a reception as I thought I'd get. But anyway, so since those are two of my favorite shows and you did work closely with Bryan Cranston, I got to ask, imagine there was a crossover between Malcolm in the Middle and Breaking Bad, how do you think Malcolm would interact with Walter White? How would that interaction play out?
I was with Brian this whole week. We were doing a lot of interviews together, and someone asked who was smarter, Walter White or Malcolm, right? And that's a tough one. I don't know. I feel like, imagine if instead of Jesse Pinkman, if his sidekick was Malcolm, right? With his smart, that'd be an interesting dynamic. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I was personally a huge fan, obviously, of Brian in that show. I actually rewatched it recently. I don't know. That's a hard one for me. I don't know. I can't give you a better answer than that.
It's all right.
Sorry.
Ask Brian to do a Comic-Con.
For sure.
We have another question.
My name is Stephanie. I am from Mexico, and I have just a question about the Komodo 3000. Do you
Yeah.
think the Mexican people is the best like people for that.
They love it, yeah.
Episode. Why do you think this?
Yeah, you know, for those she was asking about, there's an episode of Malcolm in the Middle where the boys buy this giant firework, and it's called the Komodo 3000. And in Mexico, I'm going there like the day after on Monday to do press and stuff, but I sign more Komodo 3000s than anything because in Mexico it's such a big thing, which I don't get that reaction to it here in the States. So I have to watch the show in Spanish, and maybe I'll figure out why everyone loves it so much. No problem. Go over here. Let's go over here. Hey, over here.
Hello. Oh, let's be a little careful.
What's the question?
Buenas tardes. You have been really kind of like a big part of all of our childhoods, right? I didn't actually start watching Malcolm till maybe 5 years after when it was actually on Netflix. But
Nice.
we've kind of heard your own difficulties of, you may not remember certain episodes and everything. And I just kind of wanted to ask you, what helped you get through those difficult times that you may not remember?
You know, there's a little misconception in the lack of memory, or like, I've had a lot of concussions. I've had, a lot happen in my life, and trying to, how do I back up? I've kind of thought about what it could be, right? Because there were so many integral, huge moments in my life that people tell me about, and I go, I don't remember that. Like my mom, she'll be like, oh, remember when we were in Australia? And I'm like, I've never been to Australia. I should remember going to Australia. And I equate it to two things. One, since I was 8 years old, I'm 40 now. I've never stopped, right? I've done so many incredible things and had so much happen that it's hard to literally absorb it all, A. But B, I've been an actor my whole life. And as an actor, you're pretending to be someone else. You're dealing with their emotions. You're dealing with their problems. One scene I'm angry. The next scene I'm sad. The next scene I'm happy. The next scene I'm in love with someone. You know what I mean? And for so long, I learn the script. I go and I perform it. And then as soon as they say cut and we move to the next script, I never think about it again. You know what I mean? You go on to the next emotion, the next thing. So I feel like maybe some of my lack of memory, is the fact that unfortunately things that actually happen in my own life, I do the same thing. I'm in the moment and I'm absorbing it and I do it, but then I forget it and I move on to the next thing. The other way I look at it too and try to explain it to people is when you were in school, right? If I said, what did you do in February 17th of your sophomore year, you'd go, I don't know. You remember specific things, right? Good things, maybe some bad things, highs, lows. But it doesn't mean, you forgot everything. So that's kind of more of how it is for me in my life. I've realized that I want to be better at remembering specific moments, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But there's so many moments, it's hard to do it, but sorry, I don't know if that answers your question.
Trust me, I'm in the same boat.
I talk a lot.
But I'm in the same boat, honestly. I have the same problems. I don't remember a lot of things, and my wife and my parents are like, you don't remember? I don't. I just kind of move on from it and move on to the next thing. I think we have time for one more question.
Hey, Frankie. I was going to ask how, but I was going to say, about the scene where you guys fall in the golf cart into the water. How was it filming that?
That scene, we're only obviously allowed to do it one time, right? One take. And it's very hard to sit in a golf cart knowing that it's going to go into a pool, but they didn't want us to move. And we couldn't even have any reactions in our face until we were completely submerged underneath the water. And somehow we did it in that one take and got it. But I remember not being nervous, but I don't know, would you drive a golf cart into a pool and not get out? But no, it was really fun to make, and
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good scene.
it was awesome. It was super fun.
I think we
thank
can
you.
squeeze one more. We can squeeze one last one.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm a big fan of yours since I grew
Thank
up
you.
with you. I'm actually the oldest of three brothers, so we all
Nice.
watch the show.
Awesome, thank you.
And I was gonna say, I saw all your movies and everything like that, but I say, what franchise would you like to be in? Like DC, Marvel, or anything? Like, because everybody's, you know, Breaking Bad and all that stuff. But what Marvel show or movie or anything would you like to be a part of? Because I've seen all your movies. You did the horror one where the string comes out.
Yeah. You saw that?
I've
The
seen
black
all of
string?
I've seen all your movies.
Nobody's seen that.
I've seen a lot of your movies.
That's actually my favorite movie
I'm a
ever
big
did.
fan. I'm a big fan.
Nice.
Everything
I
you've
appreciate
done,
that.
so.
Oh, I would have to say, I haven't seen all of the, the Marvel movies and the DC movies, to be honest, because I just haven't. But I really enjoyed Iron Man.
That would be awesome. That's one of my favorites too.
I would love to be in. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd be a good Robin.
You can be a lot of things, man. I'm
You know,
surprised.
there
You
was
look young.
there
You look
was a
young.
time. I think it was Christopher Nolan that was doing a Batman movie, and he had said in something that he wanted to cast me as like a Robin character, which I was like, what? That'd be
I mean,
awesome.
with
but
your
didn't
fame
happen.
and publicity,
Didn't
you can
happen.
be any character. You can be any character. You can be even a side character for like, Ant-Man had 3 buddies. He had 3 people helping him out, 3 cons.
I don't know.
I mean, you can be any characters.
I'm not good at this.
And you're Malcolm. You're good at everything.
I'll say this as going back to Breaking Bad. I would have loved to play Jesse Pinkman. It wouldn't have happened.
I met them too.
But
I'm a
like
big
that
fan
would
of
have
them,
been
so.
like such a fun character to play for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this guy Sean is cool as hell. I spell for him too. He knows me, so I'm always cosplaying. So.
Let's hear it one more time for Frankie Muniz.
Thank you guys.
And make sure you watch Malcolm in the Middle. Life Still Unfair now on Hulu and Disney Plus.
Right.
Thank you on NostalgiaCon.
Thank you. See you guys.